Hello and welcome along. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on your national broadcaster. Now, as we're gearing up for Caadp 2025, the summit that kicks off tomorrow, the 9th of January 2025 to the 11th of January 2025. Here in Kampala, we are coming to you live from the venue where all is going to be happening starting tomorrow. And the preparations are all geared, assuring that we have a successful event as well. And in the same capacity, just to remind you that Uganda is hosting this Caadp Kampala Summit from the 9th to the 11th of January under the theme Building Resilient Agri-Food Systems. And in the same capacity, we're going to be having a conversation rotating around the same and from the perspective of the African Union Commission. Now, joining me this very afternoon here at the Speak Resort Conventional Center is Her Excellency Ambassador Josefa Sacko, who is from Angola, and she was elected the new Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment, that is abbreviated as ARBE, of the African Union Commission. Now, Ambassador Sacko was the Special Advisor to the Minister of Agriculture, assigned with the responsibility of advising on issues related to international cooperation, both bilateral and multilateral. Now, in the same capacity, she is here to also delegate, but also in the same capacity to visit Uganda. And in the same way, I would like to invite her, and I would also like to welcome her to Uganda. Good afternoon. You're most welcome to Uganda.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity that you're giving me, first of all, to share the program of this important extraordinary summit that is going to happen, kick off tomorrow from the 9th to 11th of January. I would also like to take this opportunity to wish all of you a Happy New Year 2025, and we want that this 2025 will be better than 2024 because we have a lot of geopolitical challenges, so we want peace so that we can go ahead with our development program and with our Agenda 2063.
Okay. Now, in the same regard, we welcome you fully to Uganda, and we are hoping you're already enjoying your stay. But that said, as we are kicking off the summit tomorrow, one may wonder, a viewer this very afternoon would wish to know the objectives of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Program, and then also looking into its objectives, if you can take us through that.
As you know, that agriculture is a mainstay of African economy. Socio-economic development in Africa depends on agriculture. It's a very important sector. When we look at the fundamental human rights in any society, in any country, there are three sectors that are core for us to concentrate. It is the health sector, because the health is very important for us. The education, we need to educate our people, and we need to feed our people. So those are very, very important sectors that we need to pay attention. If you look today in Africa, the way our status is in terms of food security is quite worrying. It's quite worrying because every time there is a report, Africa region is always behind. Why is it behind? Why is it behind when we have all the ecosystem? We are endowed with land, with water, and with youth, to really boost the agriculture sector. That is why we are here to share with you what has been doing as a continent. As a continent, if you look at the background of the African Union, during the OAU, it was really, the program was the liberation of our continent, because we're all colonialized, and the focus mandate of OAU was really to liberate the continent. Now that we have already achieved, even apartheid has been, we finished with apartheid, all the countries are sovereign, so now we have to look at the aspect of how can we develop our continent, how can we be self-sufficient in all the sectors. In African Union, after the transition from the OAU to AU, we have now a new structure. We have a new structure whereby we had 10 commissioners that are really elected. They are elected officials to look at the issue of peace and security and the issue of development and integration on our continent. This is really part of it. With this, that's the way our head of state and government approved the Agenda 2063, which is really a broad agenda which covers all the needs that we need in the country. So the issue is not just to make agenda and strategy, but how can we make sure that this agenda, this decision of our head of state have been implemented. That is why when we look at, I'm coming back to my sector, I'm the Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, and Sustainable Environment. So as a Commissioner, when I was elected in 2017, there was the Malabo Declaration. So the history of this Caadp, the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, started in 2003 during the African Union, the AU. So during the AU, we brought the Caadp, the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, and we came out with our head of state. We came out with two areas, two pillars in that, which brought the Maputo Declaration. And the head of states decided if we want to implement the Agenda 2063, we have to come out with strategy, 10 years action plan, 10 years strategy and the 10 years action plan. So we did a 10 years action plan under the Maputo Declaration. This is really how we initiated implementing this Caadp on the continent. So when we came with Maputo, our head of state decided that we should look at the issue of food insecurity and make Africa food secured. So we should look at, when you are looking at food insecurity, why are you food insecure? You will look at the challenges because our yields per hectare is very low in the continent. Is it lack of fertilizers? Is it lack of good land? So all these issues were really decided by our head of state. So then countries have to take that one, align with their national investment plan or the national plan to follow these areas that were decided by all the 55 member states of African Union. We looked and they also said the problem of agriculture, most of the challenges, is lack of investment. Funding is an issue. Because you can have a project, you can have a program, but if you can't mobilize and you don't invest on the sector, you will not have results. That's why our head of state came with the 10% of public expenditure to allocate it on the budget of agriculture. When we are talking about agriculture, we are not just talking about crops. We are talking about the livestock, we are talking about fishery, we are talking about forestry, we are talking poultry, all the food security baskets. That's what we're talking.
Ambassador, sorry to cut you short. I wonder though, as of 2025, do we have a harmonized policy for agriculture on the continent when you look at the member states of the African Union?
We have the 10 years action plan, which was the Malabo Declaration at the Maputo. And it expired in 2014. In 2014, our head of state, that's where I wanted to continue, because our head of state came out with the Malabo Declaration, which was bold with 7 commitments. So this Malabo Declaration, those are the policies, because in African Union, we don't implement. We are an organ to set the policy, strategy, and program, and then work with our member states to implement. We align these policies with our member states, and then we follow up, and then after we do accountability. That is the Malabo Declaration. So 10 years now, like you're saying, in the 2025, is this same policy. This same policy, Caadp, this is our policy for agricultural transformation on the continent. So 10 years after Malabo, we saw that because the last biannual review report, which is the commitment number 7 of the Malabo Declaration, Mutual Accountability. When we saw it, we submitted last year during the General Assembly of our head of state, we saw that no country was on track, to attain the goals set by our head of state to end hunger by 2025, which is this year. So that's why our head of state, during that meeting, through the Executive Council, they decided that we should come out, they assigned the Commission to come out with a new 10-year action plan, more comprehensive, and to contextualize to the current situation. You know, we had COVID-19 pandemic. We have a lot of lessons learned from the COVID. We have the war in Ukraine and Russia. So we have the consequence because 30% of our cereal and 30% of our fertilizer comes from these two markets. So all these shocks is a lesson for us to say what is the way forward, because we are not in the climate change, because we are not polluters. Our part of historic responsibility is less than 4%. But we are the more vulnerable because of lack of infrastructure, lack of resilient programs, resilient infrastructure, all this resilient production system. So that is why our head of states last year, they asked us we should come out and develop a new Caadp. We still keep the values of Caadp. The spirit and the value we still keep, because we say that we cannot go alone. You know, we cannot do this alone. We have to do it together as a coordination. We have to have this coordination. We have to have a continental policy so that we have only one policy that after member states can adapt according to their own reality in their continent. So that is why during this year, we learned from because this is 2 decades we are implementing the Caadp. So after the 2 decades, there's a lot of lessons, there are a lot of gaps, a lot of challenges. So we did a very consultative and inclusive process. We engage ourselves with our RECs, we engage ourselves with the academias, we engage ourselves with all the researchers, institutions, we engage ourselves with the Farmers Association, we engage ourselves with the youth and the women association. So all these stakeholders, they took part on the shaping, on the crafting of the new Caadp strategy, the Caadp Kampala strategy, and also the 10 years action plan.
Okay, and on that issue to do with the new Kampala strategy, I wonder though, from your perspective, how are the preparations from Uganda's side, and what role can Kampala play in this next 10 years of the strategy plans that are going to be laid?
I think despite the fact that Kampala accepted to, declared that they wanted to host the summit, the extraordinary summit, they took their responsibility. As we can say, okay, you know, when we are organizing these big events, there are also some things, logistic, that you can set at the later part. But at least the commitment was there. So we felt so happy to be working mostly with the Minister of Agriculture, who is Excellency Frank, who is also the chair of the Specialized Technical Committee of the African Union. This is a ministerial segment, so we have a bureau, and he is the one sharing for 2 years. Because every 2 years, in the 10 years action plan, the follow-up is every 2 years, the ministers, they meet, and also they try to evaluate, you know, the implementation of the Caadp Malabo. And we also have a group of the development partners who also are part of this Caadp platform that we meet and then we see. So it is really a very dynamic process we are going. That's why our head of state has said that we should keep in the spirit and values of Caadp, but bring new resolution. Now, this new version, we have six main strategic objective. It is to accelerate or to sustain the production in Africa, our production, agricultural production, to go through the value chain through agri-industry, because we want to create jobs, we want to process, we want to go through the value chain, and to also take the advantage of the IFCFTA to do the inter-African trade. The inter-African trade was already in the Malabo Declaration, but we did not, you know, maybe we did not follow it very well. So this pillar, the first objective to us, is very important. The second objective is also to enhance investment and finance in order to transform this this agri-food system. We are not looking at the approach of agriculture alone. Today we are looking about agriculture food system approach. We want a sustainable and resilient, because of climate change, and resilient, agri-food transformation. That is 3. The third one, we looked at the issue of food security, because that's the core. Food security and nutrition, because Malabo did not declare about nutrition. Producing, yes, but we have to produce nutritive food so that our population will not be malnourished. So we looked at it. The fourth one, we looked at the inclusion of the youth and the women. Okay. We have a pillar, the youth and the women, and the vulnerable group, marginalized group. Both, but we put marginalized group, and we look at this segment, that those are the things that we have to implement and align in our own agricultural transformation policy. And the third one, it's about the resilience of agriculture, mostly in terms of the production. Because when you have drought, you suffer. When you have floods, all the plantation of the farmers disappears. So we have to look at how can we build resilience for that segment of the sector of this thing. And the last one, it is the governance, agri-food system governance. We used to call it in Malabo the mutual accountability. It's still the accountability, but we want a better governance on the system of trying to do the accountability. And the final product, of course, is the biannual review report. Every 2 years, we need to tell our head of state, because they are coming here, but they have to follow up. So they follow up through the biannual review, but during the General Assembly. And we have a champion who is the Republic of Ethiopia. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia is the champion of the Caadp process.
Okay. And finally, I would like you to convey a message to the stakeholders as we await tomorrow for the big day of the Caadp Summit in Kampala.
To me, I would like to tell the big public that they should not lose hope. They should look at agriculture as one of business sector. So I would like to mostly appeal to the youth. Instead of them to go and migrate and die in the Mediterranean, there is an opportunity. There is an opportunity. The African Union has a lot of tools, a lot of strategy. We have the agribusiness IPEX that we have to try to work with the government in order to call the youth, because we need to produce our food. We don't need to import. We import about $45 to $50 billion yearly, because of, to have our food. So I will appeal that this is really a prosperous sector. So we have to have a resilient and prosperous transformation of the agriculture. And together, we cannot leave no one behind. We want to work with farmers, the youth. Everybody should get engaged, because all of us, we need to eat.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. And there you have it, Her Excellency Ambassador Josefa Sacko, who is the new Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment. And she has been giving us a simple overview, but of course a deep insight of what to expect ahead of the summit that kicks off tomorrow. And please do know that you're going to be getting every detail from the side events as well as the arrivals here on your national broadcaster. And we shall as well be giving you every bit of the press briefings that will be coming in at 9 a.m. every morning. And more of that will be coming your way here on your national broadcaster. But also to quickly remind you of some of the commitments from the Malabo Declaration. There was something to do with increasing investment in agriculture, ending hunger by 2025. Then there was reducing poverty by a half by 2025. And then recommitment of the Caadp principles and values being number one as a priority. And then there's also increasing intra-African trade in agricultural goods, just as the ambassador alluded to here, and in the same capacity looking into the African Continental Free Trade Area as the best way this can be happening or possible. Strengthening accountability for actions and results is also part of the same. And of course, your national broadcaster will be here to keep you up to speed with the same. The summit is running under the theme Building Resilient Agri-Food Systems. So do not look any further, because we shall be giving you all the updates. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. Thank you for watching UBC.